but no real action last night at City Hall when it comes to making much-needed improvements to municipal infrastructure. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Decreasing Thunder Bay's $32 million infrastructure deficit was the big topic of discussion at last night's City Council meeting.
Council approved the next phase of the city's asset management plan. Vasilios Bellos was at the meeting. Vasilios, what's the plan to tackle that funding shortfall?
Ryan, there were actually a number of ideas thrown around during the meeting, but no decisive action. Service level adjustments and higher taxes were both brought up, but staff say they want to conduct more public consultation before recommending anything specific. City Council is taking the next steps with its asset management plan, coming with a nearly $32 million infrastructure deficit.
I mean, realistically, the best time to start addressing your deficit is yesterday.
The deficit means the city needs to be spending that much more annually just to keep up with current infrastructure needs. The largest contributor to the shortfall is in transportation at $15 million, which includes roads and sidewalks. Prior to approval, Council discussed potential cost recovery to help close the substantial gap, including through neighboring municipalities.
Don't pay municipal taxes, yet enjoy the roads, the facilities.
Councillor Brian Hamilton recognized it to be an uncomfortable conversation, but wanted everyone utilizing the infrastructure to help maintain it.
It strikes me as kind of unfair that someone could live outside of city limits, enjoy all the benefits of us as Thunder Bay residents in maintaining the assets that they use to get to work.
Staff also discussed service level adjustments to help address the gap, with public consultation coming this year to determine next steps. The discussion then turned to the recently announced support through the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund.
We have to get behind this. We have a housing crisis. We have an affordability crisis.
There was a sense of urgency in rolling out the $21 million, especially for affordable units. Applicants willing to build can receive up to $40,000 of support per affordable unit, though Councillor Rajni Agrawal was concerned because there's no way of tracking proper use of the dollars.
We have no way of enforcing that you must rent that unit. And if you don't rent that unit, then we've just given someone a free, beautiful, renovated basement with a kitchen, bathroom, and bedrooms.
Agrawal did try to lower that incentive to $20,000, though some around the table, including Councillor Andrew Folds, were quick to shoot it down.
We want to decrease the funding to our greatest need. I can't support that.
The federal government funding must be used to build 600 units out of the total housing target of 700 homes over the next 3 years. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
City leaders are taking part in a simulated emergency this week at the North Central Fire Hall. The mock exercise includes police, fire, and EMS officials working together to deal with an extreme heat wave that's hit the city. The Municipal Emergency Control Group is led by City Manager Norm Gale. The group was kept in the dark about what the situation actually was until the mock exercise began. Their response actions are monitored and recorded by city staff as a learning tool. The mock heat wave was followed by a major hailstorm that required quick action, like opening cooling centers and putting city buses on standby for potential evacuations.
I believe we have definitely broken 40 on the humidex at this point in exercise, and we are putting some extreme strains on what the system can handle.
Especially vulnerable populations. And if there's no access to air conditioning or cooling areas, and people particularly who are unwell are more vulnerable. So it's a health and safety emergency for people first and foremost. But it's also about animals and the ability to provide services, whether it's municipal services or other services, under duress, under unusual or extreme circumstances.
The mock exercise continues on Wednesday and Thursday. It's held at least once a year to prepare for climate change and other emergencies in the city.
Former Thunder Bay Police Chief Sylvie Hoth made her first virtual court appearance today after being charged by Ontario Provincial Police last month. Hoth faces 4 charges, 1 count of obstructing a public or peace officer, 1 count of breach of trust, and 2 counts of obstruction of justice. They were laid following a multi-year investigation by the OPP after the Ministry of the Attorney General asked the provincial force to look into misconduct allegations within the Thunder Bay Police Service. 2 other service members, former in-house lawyer Holly Walburn and Staff Sergeant Michael Dimony, were also charged. Hoth will be back in court on June 18th. Walburn's first court appearance is scheduled for Friday.
A 2-vehicle collision on Thunder Bay's north side sent one of the vehicles onto its side this morning. Emergency crews were on scene at the intersection of Van Norman and Hill Street North around 8:45 a.m. One occupant was taken to hospital, but seemingly for precautionary reasons only. The car that rolled over also struck a street sign and a utility pole. City police are still investigating the cause of the crash, and no charges have been laid at this point.
An Ontario First Nations group is suing the province and Ottawa for failing to provide safety.
The Chiefs of Ontario launched a lawsuit against the Ontario and federal governments over disputes in policing requirements. CTV's Siobhan Morris explains.
They came to the People's House from reserves across the province, demanding change.
We are part of Ontario, but we are treated in such a very different way. It's so discriminatory.
The Chiefs of Ontario are filing suit against the provincial and federal governments because they allege their communities aren't getting equal access to justice.
First Nation laws in Ontario are not being enforced by police, and they are not being prosecuted.
The concern stems from the act governing police that took effect last month.
It's a racist piece of legislation.
Indigenous leaders allege the Community Safety and Policing Act is ambiguous on enforcement of things like First Nation tenancy laws.
You don't have the kind of protections that everyone else in Ontario would have from illegal eviction, or if you have a dangerous tenant, how to get that person out.
The chief's claims haven't been tested in court, and the government didn't engage in calls for help.
As this matter is before the court, it would be inappropriate for me to comment any further.
An answer dismissed as a lame excuse.
We're tired of having to bring everything through a lawsuit or a human rights complaint. Can we not sit at a table and negotiate this?
Colleen says he needs backup for the police service he leads on Manitoulin Island.
We have drug trafficking, we have organized crime, human trafficking, and when you see the way human trafficking is tied into murder and missing Indigenous women and girls.
It's why he feels being able to enforce things like First Nations trespassing laws is vital.
To remove that person from the community when we know that they're there for criminal activity is a huge power for First Nations communities.
This group wants the Policing Act amended.
Add us in there and enforce our laws. Otherwise, you're leaving our women and children vulnerable.
Another concern raised by Ontario chiefs is a lack of funding for policing their communities, whether that work is done by the OPP or a First Nations service. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
It's been a very successful start to the shipping season for the Port of Thunder Bay. Officials say much of that is thanks to the milder winter, which has allowed them to welcome ships earlier this year. April was a booming month for potash. It saw 157,000 metric tons come through the port, nearly 5 times as much as had arrived by this time last year. There was also a jump in the amount of grain. The port saw nearly 850,000 metric tons this April. Port CEO Chris Heikkinen says current weather conditions across the country make him optimistic that early success will continue.
Moisture out west, so the provinces that send their grain through the Port of Thunder Bay, they're all seeing much needed moisture, so that bodes well for the crop that will be transiting the port in the fall. Obviously, it's still too early to really predict what could happen there, but that's a great indicator of future shipping.
The port saw 61 vessels arrive in March and April, which is 17 more than at the same point last year.
Local pride groups have announced that the Pride Parade is returning next month for the first time in 5 years.
Thunder Pride, in collaboration with the Rainbow Collective, held a news conference at Magnus Theatre today to outline the Pride Month schedule and events. Jaden Billick reports.
The countdown has begun, leading up to this year's Pride Month festivities throughout the month of June. Organizers say the 32-day-long celebration will be the biggest Thunder Bay has ever seen. 27 events will be running throughout the city each and every day, with anticipations of smashing records of last year's attendance numbers. The outgoing president of the Rainbow Collective, Jason Veltri, speaks more about this year's festivities.
It's incredible to see how it all came together, and our organization, along with Thunder Pride, couldn't be more thrilled to see it unveiled to the public now. It is now one of the premier festivals in Thunder Bay. It's the kickoff to summer, as I always say, and it's the most colorful kickoff to summer. So we couldn't be more thrilled with the response already before we've even launched.
This year's Pride festivities will be kicking off with flag raisings across elementary and Catholic schools in the city. The rest of the month will feature fan-favorite events such as the Glitter Ball, Pride Fest, Drag Bingo, and newly improved Drag Brunch. And the two groups were proud to announce that the Pride Parade will be returning on June 15th, after its hiatus during the pandemic.
Over the past 2 years, our festival has already broken records with 10,000 plus attendees. And seeing as we haven't had the parade since before COVID, adding that parade, which was previously one of the largest parades that Thunder Bay would have each season, will just be record smashing for the entire Northwest Ontario region.
The festival's theme, Rise Up, encompasses the community's motivation to stand up and speak out against the rising tide of hate.
Rise up, speak out, call out hate and discrimination when you see it, and to fight back against those forces. There's a hashtag #IRiseUp4. It may be your niece or nephew who is non-binary. It may be the trans individual that you don't know at work. So we want folks to live and breathe and embody the theme this year.
Volunteers are needed throughout the festivities. Details can be found on the Pride Festival's website. Jaden Billick, TBT News.
Grade 8 girls from across the city are being encouraged to participate in sports and adopt an active lifestyle.
The city hosted its second annual Inspire Sport and Health event at Lakehead University with a variety of sports to try out. Jessica Clement has the story.
Lacrosse, ultimate frisbee, and cricket were just some of the activities available to the over 500 grade 8 girls at the Inspire Sport and Health for Life event. Hosted by the city, the event aimed to get more girls going into high school involved in sports and living an active lifestyle.
I think that not a lot of girls really do sports or are growing up with sports, so maybe getting them interested now, they'll be able to create more friendships.
Statistics show that girls in adolescence will stop participating in physical activity or in sport, and so the goal of today is to encourage them to try new activities in an environment they feel comfortable with and find something that they truly enjoy that they can participate in for the rest of their lives.
Sport Development Coordinator Tricia Haino says along with trying out different sports, the girls got the chance to meet and talk to local community groups and student leaders. Hammersholt grade 12 student leader Taylor Marks says having a female-oriented sports day is important.
Well, it means a lot to us. I think it's awesome to have a bunch of female athletes and non-athletes come and find a sport that they truly like, and it's a good experience for everyone, especially the kiddos who may not know what sport they enjoy or maybe want to be passionate in other sports that they've never tried before, which is awesome, and it's just such a great opportunity for everyone.
St. Pat's grade 12 student leader Victoria Postlewhite agrees, adding that they want to encourage students to just try their best and to not give up.
We know that once we get to high school, we see the decrease in girls in sports. By the end of high school, there's not as many as we begun in. So we're really just trying to encourage that there really is a spot for everyone, and you don't have to be the best of the best, and there's always a sport out there for someone.
Haino says they're hoping to continue having the event year after year to inspire more girls to participate in sport.
Girls playing sport really at any age is really important for them. In terms of the social piece in high school, that is important, where they can have a core group of friends that they're relating to each other with. They can participate physically, keep their bodies strong. It's a stress release. And in terms of just all-around social well-being, it's a positive for the girls all around.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Yeah, such a great event and such an important cause. Great to see
Absolutely.
those girls being encouraged to get involved in sport.
Yeah.
All right, Haley, let's pay attention to the weather. It's a great way to get involved in some outdoor sports this time of year because those temperatures have warmed up.
Absolutely, yeah. We saw a lovely 14 as our high today, and that is around seasonal for us at this time of year, which is good to see. That happened around noon today is when we hit the high, and then we rode that high for a little bit this afternoon, only slightly dipping down at this hour. Our low this morning was 6 degrees, but that was very, very early in the morning, around 1 and 2 in the morning. And we did have a mostly cloudy day, but that doesn't always mean gray and dreary. There was a lot of cloud coverage, but the sky was still bright and the weather was still nice, except for a few gusty winds at times from the east-northeast, and that happened around noon as well. But I would like to take a look at our radar, because although we in Thunder Bay didn't see any rain, there are some areas that did. So we have a system from the south that was moving up, and it did reach across the border a little bit today. And so when we look into our region, Fort Frances is now overcast, but they did see rain throughout the day today, and they didn't see a lot of temperature fluctuation either. They were pretty steady between 10 and 13 degrees all day, and their winds from the east were quite gusty, 53 kilometers an hour at times. And there is a chance for them to see some more periodic showers this evening. Red Lake, they also saw some gusty winds today. They were around the 19 and 20 as their high, which was good to see, and they're under mostly cloud coverage right now. But we did see some even warmer areas. Right now, Sioux Lookout and Armstrong are still at 20 degrees under mostly sunny skies. Greenstone's 19 right now and fully sunny. And then even in our lower regions here more south, although we're a little cooler now, we're getting cloudier as the evening goes on, especially down in Sault Ste. Marie. Most of those areas did hit either 20 or 21 degrees today, so they're just starting to cool off now. And as we speak about cooling off, let's take a look at Thunder Bay tonight. Tonight we're expected to drop down to 8 degrees under mainly cloudy skies, and we'll have about a 30% chance of showers in the evening and just after midnight as well. So that little radar vision that I was showing you there could extend into our area a little bit as well. Nothing too severe, and winds from the east will be dying down. So it could be a calm evening. If we do get some showers, it won't be too substantial.
Okay, perfect. That's not too bad. We can live with that. Absolutely. Well, we'll be turning our attention now to Toronto when we come back, where police are currently investigating outside of Drake, the Canadian rap superstar's mansion, where one of his security guards was shot in what's being described as a drive-by type shooting. And all of this in the shadow of the lyrical rap battles between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. We'll have more on that as your Tuesday News Hour continues.
I cannot confirm if Drake was home at the time the incident occurred, but I can tell you that we are in contact with his team and they are cooperating.